Welcome to this series on how to use shared reading to build language and early literacy skills. In this presentation, we will be discussing how you can build children's understanding of print using shared storybook reading. Print knowledge is an interesting and important aspect of young children's early literacy development. It generally refers to children's understanding of the shapes that print makes, including letters and words. Print plays various roles in the world around us. For example, we use print to entertain, to inform, to acknowledge, and to invite. Children who develop solid print knowledge in the early years will be interested in print and motivated to participate in reading activities. They will incorporate print into their play through use of books and writing materials, explore print concepts through their own writing and drawing, and make faster progress in beginning reading instruction. You can also build children's print knowledge whenever they're engaged in shared reading of a storybook. Shared reading is the interaction that occurs between an adult and a child when reading or looking at a book. It is not intended to teach children to read. It is about building children's spoken language and early literacy skills to prepare them to engage with reading instruction. Storybooks teach children fundamental knowledge about how print works. Here are some tips for shared reading. Repeated reading of storybooks helps children to develop their language and literacy. Try to read each new storybook at least 4 times over a few weeks. If a child has a language difficulty or language disorder, manipulative books such as Lift the Flap books, as well as books with less text and shorter sentences, may increase their engagement and enjoyment of shared reading experiences. And remember, you don't have to read the exact words in the book. Make the sentences shorter and use easier to understand language if this will help the child to engage. When sharing books with children, talk about the title, the author, and the illustrator. You might say, "This is the front of the book, and this is the back of the book. On the front of the book, we see the title. The title helps us know what the book is about." Or you might say, "These words tell us the name of the author. The author is the person who writes the words in the book." You could do the same for the illustrator, the person who draws the illustrations or pictures. Talk about the directionality of print. You could say, "I'm pointing to the words as I read. I'm going to start over here," pointing to the left margin, "and go all the way across the page." Or you could say, "I read from this side, the left, to this side, the right." Also comment on how print goes from top to bottom. You could say, "I'm going to read this way, from here," pointing to the top line, "to here," pointing to the bottom line. During reading, you might stop to point out some words in the book. Use the word "word" to help children understand what a word is. You could say, "Here is the word dogs, and here is a picture of 2 dogs. These words tell us about what the dogs are doing." Read the text, pointing to each word. You could also draw attention to how the author has used print. You might say, "Look, when the words on the page are written in large black letters, it makes me think that the character is yelling." You might talk about the difference between letters and words. When reading, pause occasionally to talk about how letters make up words. You could say, for example, "Let's look at the word go and the word ribbons on this page. Which word do you think is longer? Let's count how many letters make up the word go. Go is made up of 2 letters. Now, let's count how many letters make up the word ribbons. 7. Go is made up of 2 letters and ribbons is made up of 7 letters. Ribbons is a longer word than go. To build children's print knowledge through shared reading, you can also talk about high-frequency words we see often in storybooks. You could say, "Look at this word. Do you remember what this word is? We saw this word in the title." "That's right, daisy. This word says daisy." You can also draw children's attention to frequently occurring words as you read the book. For example, this word says roar as you point to the word. Keep reading, and when you see that word again, say, "I see the word roar again. Here it says roared." And here in the picture it shows that the character roared. Again, further in the book, you might say, "What do you think this word is?" pointing to the word roared. "Do you remember?" "That's right, roared." And finally, you can point out and talk about punctuation. You might say, "A sentence must always start with a capital letter and end with a full stop. Look at this sentence. Can you find the capital letter in this sentence? Can you find the full stop?" Or you might say, "A full stop tells us that the sentence has ended. If you are reading a sentence out loud, the full stop tells you to pause before reading on. This is so you can take a breath, and it helps the listener to understand the sentence." During reading, stop occasionally and say, "Where is the first word in this sentence? How do we know it's the first word? What is the last word in this sentence? How do we know it's the last word?" Have fun and enjoy building print knowledge in your classroom through shared book reading.